80 boss fights, 40 hours of gameplay, one impossible journey. Black Myth isn't just another action game, it's an achievement that's redefining what's possible in gaming. And today, we're diving deep into the moments that made this Chinese mythology epic one of gaming's most spectacular achievements. From hidden encounters that rival the hardest Souls-like battles to boss fights that push the boundaries of what games can do. This is the story of how an ambitious studio created something truly extraordinary. Let's start at the beginning, because Black Myth doesn't waste any time showing you what it's capable of. Within the first hour, you're thrown into a fight with the Wandering Wight, a boss that's become notorious for its brutal difficulty. While its attacks might seem slow and well telegraphed at first glance, this spirit can kill you in just a couple of hits. But here's the thing, this optional early boss isn't just there to test your skills, it's teaching you something fundamental about this world. Nothing here is going to hold your hand. The genius of this encounter lies in its placement. You're still learning the basics, still getting comfortable with your abilities when suddenly you're faced with a challenge that seems impossible. At this point, you've had limited access to spells, skills, and gear, making the fight feel even more daunting. But unlike many games that front-load their difficulty, Black Myth gives you a choice. You can either rise to the challenge right there and then, or you can come back later when you've acquired the ability to absorb spirits, making the encounter not just possible, but rewarding. This pattern of player choice continues with the Black Bear Guai, the true final boss of Chapter 1. After mastering the cloud step technique and reaching the temple at the top of the mountain, you're confronted by this massive, flame-wielding beast. It's an intense spectacle that pushes everything you've learned to the limit. But it's the White-Clad Noble, another mandatory boss from Chapter 1 that really sets the tone for what's to come. This rare two-phase encounter starts challenging enough, but just when victory seems within reach, it transforms into something entirely different.
You have forced my hand.
That moment when it snakes out from under the water, revealing its true form, isn't just spectacular, it's a statement of intent. This is a game that's gonna keep you guessing, keep you learning, and keep you on the edge of your seat. But what makes Black Myth truly special isn't just its combat, it is the world itself. Every environment feels like it was crafted with painstaking attention to detail. From the windswept desert plains where you face the Yellow Wind Sage to the spider-infested caverns beneath the Temple of the Yellow Flower, each location tells its own story. The Yellow Wind Sage himself demonstrates this perfectly. As the final boss of Chapter 2, he comes with a massive health bar and wide-reaching spear attacks, but it's his ability to vaporize and strike from within dust storms that truly makes the environment feel alive and threatening. Take Chapter 4's underground cavern system for instance. At first glance, it might seem like just another dark and creepy area, but as you delve deeper, you discover it's a masterclass in environmental storytelling. The way the spiderwebs get thicker as you progress, the distant sounds of skittering legs, the remnants of previous explorers who weren't as fortunate. It all builds to create an atmosphere of mounting dread. This culminates in a confrontation with the Hundred-Eyed Daosti Master, a fight that transforms this creepy environment into an arena of pure terror. Even with help from the Spider Sisters, this multi-phase battle pushes players to their absolute limits, especially when the Master devours his sword and gains access to devastating new attacks. And then there's the moment you encounter Buddha's right hand. As you're making your way through a narrow corridor, suddenly a massive hand reaches down from above. It's unsettling enough on its own, but then the real fight begins, and you realize this is just the beginning. When it reveals its true form as the grotesque bug with a head-shaped tail, it's not just shocking, it's a perfect example of how this game constantly subverts your expectations. What makes this encounter particularly memorable is how it transforms after defeat. The vanquished boss becomes a bridge, turning a fearsome enemy into a literal stepping stone in your journey. Speaking of transformative moments, let's talk about what really makes these encounters shine. The combat system. Black Myth equips you with an arsenal of abilities that would make any action game protagonist jealous. The focus meter builds up as you land hits and perfectly dodge attacks, providing points that you can spend on varied combos or powerful charge strikes. But it's not just about managing resources, it's about how these abilities work together to create moments of pure gaming magic. Take the fight with Tiger Vanguard in Chapter 2 for instance. Here's a boss that tests everything you've learned up to this point. He's aggressive, lightning fast, and fights you in a pool of blood that adds an extra layer of atmospheric tension to the encounter. But what makes this fight truly memorable is his mastery of the Rock Solid spell, allowing him to deflect your heavy attacks and leave you vulnerable to his devastating counters. His most dangerous move? A blazing fast sword strike from behind that can end your run in an instant. You need to watch for the moment he places his hand on the sword's hilt and either use the immobilize spell to interrupt him or transform immediately to survive. This intricate dance of abilities continues with other memorable encounters as well. The Bishoy golden-eyed beast, for example, is a relentless berserker whose non-stop attacks barely leave room to breathe. But clever players can lure this fiery monster into a nearby ice cave, transforming its devastating fire attacks into more manageable ice-based moves. You might start these fights thinking you can just dodge and counter your way to victory, but soon you realize that is not enough. You need to use your transformation abilities strategically, time your spells perfectly, and make every focus point count. It's in moments like these, when all of your skills and knowledge come together, that Black Myth truly shines. What makes this fight even more special is the brief intermission where you reunite with Zuibaji. The relationship between these characters, drawn from Journey to the West's rich mythology, adds layers of meaning to every exchange of blows. Even the final phase, where you must carefully time your attacks to overcome his electrical immunities, feels like a natural evolution of the fight's narrative. These aren't just enemies you're fighting, they're characters with their own stories, their own motivations, and their own part to play in this grand tale. The spectacle continues with encounters like the Yaksha King, whose massive arm blades grow longer as the fight progresses. His oddly timed movements and devastating combos force you to completely rethink your approach to combat timing. A single hit from his blade can chunk away a significant portion of your health, making this one of the most intense close quarters battles in the entire game. But if those battles tested your skills, nothing could truly prepare you for the game's ultimate challenge. The fight against Erlang, the sacred divinity, isn't just the hardest challenge in Black Myth. It's a perfect culmination of everything you've learned throughout your journey. Hidden away as a secret final boss in Chapter 3's Mount May area, this fight represents the absolute pinnacle of the game's combat design. Remember that prologue where you caught a glimpse of Erlang's power? Well, now you're facing him at full strength, and he's even more formidable than you might have imagined. He can summon massive weapons out of nowhere, transform into a tiger at will, and unleash lightning attacks that can end the fight in seconds. Most intimidating of all is his special deflecting bar that must be repeatedly worn down before you can even deal damage. Even your most reliable spells barely phase him. This is a battle that demands absolute mastery of every system in the game. But what makes this fight truly special isn't just its difficulty, it's how it ties everything together. The way Erlang moves, the attacks he uses, even the arena itself, it all feels like a perfect bookend to your journey. You'll need to master the timing of his countless attack patterns, find the perfect moments to strike between his devastating combinations, and maintain absolute focus throughout multiple phases of combat. When you finally land that final hit, when you finally overcome this seemingly impossible challenge, it's not just relief you feel, it's a sense of genuine achievement that few games manage to deliver.
Today's clash didn't satisfy my spirit.
Before you can even think about facing Erlang though, you'll need to contend with another fearsome opponent, the Great Sage's Broken Shell. This battle, which serves as the default final boss, is a two-phase nightmare that pushes your abilities to their limits. What makes this fight particularly challenging is that the Great Sage has access to all the same abilities you do. From the Ring of Fire to Immobilize, and even your precious healing gourd isn't safe from his tricks. While these climactic battles might be the highlights of Black Myth's main path, some of its most incredible moments are hidden away for only the most dedicated players to discover. Take the Scorpion Lord for instance. This optional boss in Chapter 4 isn't just another fight, it is a prime example of how the game rewards exploration and curiosity with some of its most challenging and memorable encounters. Finding the Scorpion Lord requires you to venture deep into the Temple of the Yellow Flower's secret areas, solving environmental puzzles and discovering secrets along the way. When you finally face him, you'll understand why he's considered one of the game's most fearsome opponents. His relentless aggression, combined with his poisonous attacks and devastating grab moves, makes for a fight that rivals even Erlang in difficulty. But what makes this encounter truly special is how it ties into the game's broader narrative. If you don't defeat him before reaching the Duke's Vale arena, you'll witness an incredible scene where these two bosses battle each other. But you'll also miss out on crucial crafting materials needed for Fuban's chest armor and a significant piece of the game's rich lore. This attention to detail extends to every corner of the game. Each region hides its own secrets, from the mysterious Lung bosses to hidden transformations that can dramatically change how you approach combat. Take Yellow Lung for example. Defeating this optional boss rewards you with not only his powerful transformation ability, but also one of the game's best curios, the Golden Carp, and materials for crafting the formidable Golden Lung Staff. Whether it's ringing shrine bells to unlock hidden temples, collecting Buddha's eyes out in the desert, or helping break ancient curses, each side activity feels meaningful and rewarding. It's a game that respects your time and curiosity, making every discovery feel earned and significant. Even something as simple as helping break the curse of a man trapped in stone can lead to valuable vendor services that enhance your journey in meaningful ways. As we look back at Black Myth Wukong, it's clear that these moments aren't just memorable because they're challenging or visually stunning. They're memorable because they come together to create something truly unique. This isn't just another action game. It's a love letter to Chinese mythology, a technical achievement that pushes the boundaries of what games can do, and proof that ambition and execution can go hand in hand. From the way it handles difficulty to its approach to storytelling, from its stunning visuals to its intricate combat system, Black Myth has set a new standard for action games. It shows that you don't need to compromise creativity for challenge or accessibility for depth. You can have it all. You just need to execute it with the same level of care and attention that game science has shown here. So, what do you think? Which moment in Black Myth left the biggest impression on you? Let me know down in the comment section below. And if you haven't played the game yet, I do hope this video has given you a glimpse of why it's worth your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth gaming analysis.